Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Beantown Banter podcast.
Hunter on the move, racing back, it's over his head, it's gone, it's into the bullpen, this game is tied, this game is tied. Rebuttal is on the top of the crease, Red Sox score! Bergeron! Driving forward, diving to the goal line! A touchdown! And a title! Anything's possible. Anything's possible!
Recording live from Boston, Massachusetts, here are your hosts, Brady Gardner and Patrick Donnelly.
And welcome to episode 47 of the Beantown Banter podcast. As always, joined on the phone this time by Patrick Donnelly. I'm Brady Gardner. Patrick, what's up?
We're doing Patrick in the car today.
That's right.
We're in the 2 to 6 window, so it kind of works. Yeah, just sitting in traffic. You know, Boston's an hour away from Boston.
Correct.
In a lovely mood.
Yeah. So we have me in the home studio here, which you're probably hearing more clearly through an actual microphone. We got Patrick on the car, or in the car rather. Hope he's not on a car. That doesn't sound safe. On speakerphone, going into the microphone. What could possibly go wrong? I don't know. So let's get into this here. We're gonna see how this goes. Probably gonna be a short, slightly abbreviated version of the podcast, but you know what? We're here. We're doing it. So let's get into some scores. Starting off with your Boston Red Sox, who continue to be relatively underwhelming. Earlier this week, I guess we recorded at the end of last week, so they finished off a weekend series, 4 games against the LA Angels, and ended up splitting it, which is pretty disappointing after a solid 3-0 win and a Chris Sale start to begin the series, and then a 16-4 thrashing in the second game. All of a sudden, you end up losing the third game 12-4, and then the one after that in extra innings 5-4. With Ryan Weber getting a loss in that one, and that shows you how desperate they were in the bullpen towards the end of that series. So, Patrick, I guess before we get into the Cleveland series, which definitely has more storylines, yeah, you have any thoughts on the LA series? Maybe I'm sure it was a disappointment, but anything you really gained from that, if anything?
I think disappointment is hitting the nail on the head, because at this point, our expectations are so low, but then again, the Los Angeles Angels have even lower expectations on their season, and they still manage to disappoint against the Angels.
That's exactly right. And you kind of just think about, like, the standard of competition here. Like, you have Mike Trout over there, and he's always going to be an MVP candidate. So let's say, you got Mike Trout and Mookie Betts because he just won the MVP. Let's say they cancel out. Aside from Mike Trout, who do they have? Like, Ohtani, the corpse of, Albert Pujols. What else do they have? You're playing against, like, Mike Trout and the Paw Sox, and you split the series, because that's what you are right now. You're just an underachieving ball club. But
Just a mediocre ball club.
But there may be some positives to take from this Cleveland series. So let's move on to that before we dig ourselves too deep of a hole of negativity, shall we? So this Cleveland series between Monday and Wednesday this week, not too bad, believe it or not. The first one was real painful. You had a 6-5 loss in the walk-off fashion out there in Cleveland, where the Sox crawled all the way back. They tied it up 5-5 in the 9th inning. Xander Bogaerts with a 2-out double that probably should have been caught to score the tying run, and you're doing great in the 9th, and then all of a sudden you think to yourself, just do not give up a home run. Oh, there it goes. And Marcus Walden gives up a walk-off homer to send the Indians home happy. The Indians are red hot, by the way, or they were. And the Red Sox just plummeting even further. Right when you feel like it can't get any lower, Sox give up a walk-off. But, Patrick, I think it's more about the response the very next day, because this was another game that was neck and neck, right? I mean, they did take a strong lead in this one. It was 6-1, right? So it's good to see the bats come right back. But then they ended up getting, the Indians ended up getting enough runs to come back in that one, including tying it up in the 9th, kind of playing the Red Sox role from the night before. But this time it's the Red Sox who get the magic in the late innings. And JBJ, of all people, Jackie Bradley Jr., hits a home run in the 10th inning. Brandon Workman closes it out. Not too bad.
Not too bad?
Yeah, actually, it wasn't Workman who closed it out. So Workman got the win because he pitched the 9th, technically. But guess who got the save, Mr. Patrick?
Andrew Cashner.
Andrew Cashner comes on in the 10th. And I love it. I love it.
I love it if it keeps happening.
Sure.
So this on Section 10 about Andrew Cashner.
Okay.
It was Andrew Kashner, I think it was Steve Perel said this, wasn't Corrales. And he goes, Andrew Kashner doesn't fall into the Clay Buchholz, Pablo Sandoval, or Drew Pomeranz category because Andrew Kashner, and I cannot stress this enough, has never been a good professional baseball player.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not expecting much, and I'm going to be pleasantly surprised if he keeps doing it.
Yes. I'm surprised Clay Buchholz gets thrown in there personally. I feel like he had some good years, but maybe that's just his rookie, perfect game or no-hitter, whatever it was, that gets in my head quickest. Who knows? But yeah, Kashner coming in out of the bullpen, lights out. Who knew? He's got a solid fastball, and he's got some good secondary pitches, so maybe all he needs to do is throw to 5 batters a game max, and that's how you get the most out of Andrew Kashner. Maybe you don't let him get through a lineup multiple times. Anyway, sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
And it's not at Fenway.
Well, yeah, keep him away from Fenway. The guy struggles with Fenway. But I don't know. I'm intrigued with this Andrew Kashner closer role. Little, blonde beard up on the hill to close you out in the 9th. I mean, the Red Sox are, down the drain anyway, it feels like. So why not make it a little bit of fun? Put old Kashner out there just for the fun of it and embrace the chaos, as they say. So, Kashner did not let down, by the way. What was that?
Go from the ginger beard and Kimbrel to the blonde beard.
Blonde beard. That's right. That's the way to do it. You just need good facial hair.
Also, that Clay Buchholz jab stung a little bit.
What do you mean?
I was always a big Buchholz guy.
Yeah, I feel like he was okay for what he was.
I was so happy for him in 2013 when he just lit the world on fire.
That's right. Yeah. Shout out Clay Buchholz. I never loved him, but he was solid. Anyway, Kashner delivered again, by the way, on Wednesday. He threw a great 8th inning. Workman stayed in the 9th inning role. I'd kind of like to see Kashner try the 9th inning role because I'm not sure Workman has really won me over there, but whatever. Another solid 8th inning there for Kashner, and I think that was pretty big too because this is a starter who's used to pitching every 5 days, and here he is, going back-to-back 2 nights. Yes, it is an inning each night, but it's different for him, and, he performed the role very well. Nathan Eovaldi also went 2 solid innings. I think that was probably his best bullpen outing that we've seen from him, really. It was kind of strange, actually, because Nathan Eovaldi was supposed to pitch the finale against Cleveland, which the Sox, by the way, won 5-1 to take the series. He was supposed to start that game and go back to his starter role like he came to the Red Sox in, but he had to pitch in the close game there on Tuesday for Game 2, so they couldn't use him Game 3 the next night. So instead, they had a bullpen game in which Brian Johnson got the start, and he gave up the only run, but it was not an earned run. There were some errors there, but it is what it is. And then they had 6 1/3 scoreless innings pitched by your bullpen. So in a bullpen game, you get your best pitching. How does that happen with the 2019 Red Sox?
Most unlikely scenario ever.
But is it? Because I'm starting to think that this bullpen is getting more heat than they deserve.
Why?
I don't mind the bullpen right now. I know it's ugly because
Please, Mike.
Yes, so you see these 7-7 games, and then whoop-de-doo, here we are, 9th inning, the other team wins it, right? And we've had that numerous occasions. I think the Sox have the second or maybe the most games blown in the 7th through 9th innings. I feel like I heard that stat somewhere. Yeah, but it's not good. Okay, some of the late game runs that they've given up have not been good. But you forget that the starters are the ones that put you in the position where you had to put up 7 runs to even be in contention in that game. Right? I think it's just, it all starts at the top. So when you don't get a good start, you're forced to dig into the bullpen early, or using guys more than you'd like to, or using them in roles that you wouldn't like to. And then, it's bound to break at some point, and it does, and it looks ugly because that's just the nature of the job. I feel like the bullpen as a whole has not been as bad as we think they are. As most people think they are.
No. Because we've made this argument before where we said, when David Price was the only starting pitcher pitching well, or Erod, we're like, all right, well, this puts your already bad bullpen in a pinch.
Right.
We're missing, you can't gloss over the fact that the bullpen roster already sucks.
Sure. All right, folks, so you didn't hear it because of editing, but we just had a bit of a technical error and lost about 15 minutes of recording. Wonderful. We now have only 15 minutes to finish the rest of the show, so let's move it quickly, shall we, Patrick? Let's get through things as quickly as we can. Patrick does have McDonald's in hand now, so that's exciting. So we were talking about the bullpen. I think that they're better than they get credit for, but in their respective roles. Just putting that a little bit of condition there. But let's get into the real important stuff here with the Red Sox, Patrick. Do you believe being 7.5 games out right now in the wild card race, do you think it's over?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. I don't.
Enough.
I'm trying to be optimistic here and trying to think that it's not over because you got some winnable series coming up here, some weekend series that you should be able to take coming up the next few weeks, and then you have some big ones next month against the likes of Tampa Bay. You have them for 4 games, so I feel like if you really get things going at the right time, maybe there's still a shot here, but you got to worry a little bit as to the future of this team because 7.5 games is certainly a lot to make up in not a ton of time, just a month and a half. But that's the state of the Red Sox right now. We've gotten through most of them, so let's move along to another team that maybe has a little bit more positivity at the moment, and that's the New England Patriots. So when we did our previous Patriots conversation here just a few minutes ago, we mostly talked about the offensive side of the ball. So Patrick, please take us through a couple guys that stood out for you on the offensive side in that 31-3 victory over the Lions last week.
Jarrett Stidham, N'Keal Harry, Brian Hoyer, shockingly.
Yeah.
Was it Maurice Harris?
Yep.
There was a running back you talked about, but you said he wouldn't be on the roster.
Yeah,
so
Nick Brissett, but they have plenty of running backs. He won't make it. Let me just read a couple stats to you here, because I do think you had some good names there. Stidham, 14 for 24, not great, but 179 yards and a touchdown, and, very safe with the ball, making good decisions. You'd love to see that from a rookie quarterback. And then Brian Hoyer, a very solid 12 for 14, throwing for 147 and 2 touchdowns, so with about half the size, or sample size rather, of Stidham, still very, very good numbers there from Hoyer, probably the best that we've seen him play in a long time, maybe fighting for that backup position, who knows. You look at the wide receivers, which are probably the most impressive group of the game. Jacoby Myers had 6 receptions, 69 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Braxton Berrios, did you just laugh?
I did not.
Oh, okay. Braxton Berrios, 3 receptions, 45 yards. Matt Lacoste even chipping in from tight end position, 2 receptions, 37 yards. N'Keal Harry, 2 receptions, 36 yards. Maurice Harris, 3 receptions, 27 yards. And those were your pretty much leading receivers. Harris also had a touchdown, should have had 2, but whatever. I feel like, Patrick, this offense may be deeper than we thought because we've been talking about how great, the defense is and they're really going to be solid this year, but, this offense looked really, really good in this game.
Well, our biggest issue was tight end. And, Matt Lacoste, 2 receptions, 37 yards. Okay, that's pretty good.
Also went off injured, though.
Also went off injured.
Yeah.
Right, so now you're even thinner at tight end.
I don't think it's a long-term injury, but not great to see him get a little banged up. N'Keal Harry also got banged up, and I think, that's where they decided to pull the plug because this guy's way too important to be, getting hit by some fourth string guy. But yeah, it was a solid first performance from the Patriots. And Stidham really excelled there because he's a guy, coming from Auburn down there in the SEC where they just kind of line up in the shotgun and just chuck it, run around and try to make a big play. So I feel like when he came in here and he was running the play action, he was taking snaps under center, he was finding the short yardage plays, the high percentage plays. He just looked like a much smarter quarterback. And so I think, if you want to apply this to the Brady-Belichick debate that we always love to talk about, I feel like that's point Belichick there because, time and time again we've seen his scheme just comes in, so big on guys that really don't have big expectations, right? Even these wide receivers, who are they? I don't know, but they're running great routes and, making key plays in key times. Take a guy like Chris Hogan, who was he ever before he got to New England? All of a sudden he's a, really, clutch pass catcher. Same with Danny Amendola. I just feel like the scheme of, Bill Belichick just still miles ahead of really every other offensive mind in the league, and he's mostly a defensive guy, which makes it that much more impressive. So, Patrick, I guess my question for you, how much of Stidham's success last Thursday do you attribute to the game plan or to him?
I'd give it about 60-40 game plan him.
Really? I feel like that's generous to him.
Okay, wow. Sorry, Jared, I'm trying to defend you here.
No, he's the one playing. I get it.
But, come on.
Traffic,
right.
road rage.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Yeah, just idiots. What were we saying? This goes back to your Brady-Belichick argument.
Yes.
Oh, were we supposed to be teeing that up?
Well, not necessarily.
Okay.
Just wondering how much, Stidham should really be given credit for.
Well, he did look good. Yeah, he passed the eye test.
For sure. But,
So, I mean,
okay.
you can still, look rough around the edges and excel because of your game plan. So
Right.
He looked good.
He did look good.
He looked like he belonged there.
Definitely did. And I think that leads you to what I consider to be one of the biggest position battles, and that's that backup quarterback position. Should we keep Hoyer around, who did look very solid when he played, or should we give the reins or hand over the position rather to Stidham? It's a big gamble because if Tom Brady goes down, that's a rookie that you're putting in there. But I would definitely do it because you saw, Matt Castle comes in and he still puts together a very solid 11-5 season. You see, Jacoby Brissett and Jimmy Garoppolo, both with minimal NFL experience, they went 3-1 when Brady was suspended. I just feel like when you have to throw an inexperienced guy in there, when you're the Patriots, it works out generally. I don't know if you need a guy like Brian Hoyer who's, not really going to develop in anything at this point. I don't know if you need him.
And he's not exciting at all either.
That's right. Not a guy that really inspires that much excitement. You've got these guys, so many wide receivers that we mentioned. They're probably not all going to end up with a roster spot if you keep 3 quarterbacks, so maybe you can open up a spot by getting rid of the other quarterback. So, who knows? But that's the state of the Patriots, and obviously you can't read too much into this preseason results, but they do have another preseason game coming up on Saturday against the Tennessee Titans. So that'll be exciting to watch and see if anything develops. They're probably going to play the first stringers in that one, the starters, for at least a quarter. So that'll be fun to watch. Try to see what it looks like the starting 22 is going to end up looking like. But let's move along here. And Patrick, is there anything in the Bruins that you want to talk about at all?
No, there's still nothing on the McAvoy-Carlo front. But you did say you had a hot take.
Well, my hot take about the Bruins is just, and I think it was the 10th anniversary of 98-5 that got me thinking about this because they got all nostalgic and went through everything that's happened in the last 10 years. But boy, have the Bruins choked in the postseason at home. And
What?
I said, boy, have the Bruins choked in the postseason at home.
Oh, absolutely.
This whole
Game 7 against St. Louis, Game 6 against Chicago.
Montreal.
Huh?
There was one against Montreal, I believe, at Game 7. There was the fall against the Flyers, that that downfall.
I went through those. I said.
Oh, I missed them.
Started with Montreal, then St. Louis, Chicago, Philly.
It's bad.
And then the Hurricanes.
Yeah. You can only beat Toronto and Vancouver in must-win games at the TD Garden. And this is something we'd make fun of teams for. This is something where we laugh at, the Pittsburgh Steelers, obviously, before they beat us, but it was always like, we'll go into your building, you can't win a big game, right? It was always like we would make fun of people who couldn't win those big games, but is that actually the Bruins and we ignore it?
No.
No?
Because they've gone down the road, and when they did it in 2011.
They won one game at home in the Stanley Cup in 2011.
In 2011, they won 4 games at home. No, 3 games at home. Excuse me.
In the final?
In the Cup Finals, the home team was undefeated until Game 7.
Oh, wait, you're right. I was reading it wrong. Dang, that really ruins my point.
And they won Game 7 against Montreal on home ice. They swept Philly on home ice when Games 3 and 4 coming back to Boston.
Mm-hmm.
They won Game 7 against Tampa Bay on home ice. They won Game 6 against Vancouver on home ice when their backs were against the wall.
Right.
Cup was in the building.
All right. So maybe there's enough examples to say, no, they're not just an institutionalized loser when it comes to these must-win games at home. But I'm just saying, especially recent memory, it's like, what have you done at home? Not a ton.
Okay. So...
Oh, here we go. There's not much on the Bruins, so Patrick's got to defend it here.
This whole rebuild post-Joe Thornton era after the lockout started in 2005 when Chiarelli is brought in, Chara and Savard come in.
Ew.
Missed the playoffs the first 2 years. 2007, you got Claude Julien, you're in the playoffs. Nobody's expecting anything from you in 2007. 2008, I believe, or 2008, again, nobody's really expecting you to do much. Or it might have been 07, 08 they made the playoffs, whatever it was. And then you get to 2009, and okay, yeah. Expectations a little higher. You made the playoffs last year. You're supposed to be in the mix. And That was a good Carolina Hurricanes team. Not gonna lie, they did choke it on home ice. It was a complete choke. That it was a softie Tim Thomas gave up. But I mean, you're 3 years into this rebuild. You get time. And then Philly was the real disappointing one. And then everyone forgets about the Carolina one and the Philly one because you win it the next year. And you exercise your demons against Philly. Oh, we're forgetting a Game 7 loss at home against Washington the year after the Cup.
Oh, really? Huh.
But by the way, I think this recent run, aside from losing St. Louis, this recent run of beating Toronto, beating Carolina, beating Columbus at home, beating Toronto's daddy at home pretty much, winning the Cup, I think it kind of washes those bad memories away, even though they still sting.
But it's almost been 10 years since that Cup. You're running out of time with these guys. This was your chance last year. I don't know. It's just hard to get over.
I didn't say you still had a chance.
That's right. It's just painful because this reminds me of the Patriots-Eagles Super Bowl, right? Because not the one that we won, by the way, the one that we lost just a couple years ago. Because that one was winnable. Malcolm Butler put him in the game. You get a stop. You beat this team, in the Eagles that did nothing last year, right? And I feel like the Eagles are what the Blues are gonna be. Just a team that kind of fluky just got there and won the game. Let's say they won one, the 1 out of 10 kind of thing.
I disagree on the Blues.
You think they're gonna be good?
I think the Blues are a very good club. I mean, people had Stanley Cup champion on them on July 1st last year, and then it was the real shock was that they were last in the league. That was the real shock,
right?
And that they made that run because they should have been good from the beginning.
Alrighty. Well, there we go. So that was just something with the Bruins that was on my mind as we're here in the dead of the offseason and you're just wondering about hockey and you're like, all right, we're the ones who lost in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. Anyway, Celtics, really nothing. Kind of funny moment where Taco Fall was at a signing. He was signing stuff, I guess, just kind of a publicity event. But they were having him sign like taco boxes, and I think he signed like some taco shells. So that was pretty funny. Really nothing else with the Celtics, right? Nothing. 10 seconds on the Revs because we have very few teams that are actually playing. Patrick probably just rolled his eyes on the other side of the phone here, but Revs tied Seattle 3-3 in a very thrilling game, but you know what? At least they're able to put up goals when they need to because that was always a concern way back. Just trying to stay positive with this team because, like I said, it's good to have a team to root for in the dead of the summer. Not a ton in terms of national news, although, pretty breaking news right here, Patrick. DeMarcus Cousins just tore his ACL.
Jesus Christ.
Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, he was at practice, and they said, knee injury, and sure enough, ACL.
Who did he sign with?
Golden State.
Oh, he went back?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
So that's a big man that Golden State loses, and that's pretty tough because they've lost some parts here.
Yeah. Tough day.
Yes, PGA news. Tiger Woods actually making a run at it, or at least having a respectable effort now at the BMW Championship. I know you know more about the playoffs than I do, but what does he have to finish in to have a solid position? I don't know what I'm saying.
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Just from not having anything in front of me.
Yeah, sure.
Just because of life. So.
That's right. Aside from that, there's not a ton that's happening. Little League World Series is on right now, Patrick. You ever follow the Little League World Series?
Back in the day.
Oh, I love it. I always, so I get all aboard the New England hype train. This year, I believe it's Barrington, Rhode Island. So shout out Rhode Island for winning the New England Regionals and now making it down there to Williamsport. But yeah, I always jump aboard the hype train, and then they just get absolutely crushed by these teams who get to play year-round, and it's ugly, and they lose everything.
Yeah, they get obliterated.
Every year.
I was on the hype train. Peabody was on there 1 year. That's right next to where I'm from, so.
Yeah, we have Pittsfield, Mass, I think, was 2 years ago. So, we've had some Massachusetts representation, but, they're never very successful. But you know what? Who knows? They're about to start their first game, so anything can happen. Good to see the Little League World Series, though. That's always a fun thing, but it does signify the end of summer, so that's not great. Anyway, you probably have to get moving, right?
Yes, I do.
Yes, he does. All right, well, we fit this in pretty well, especially considering we lost about 15 minutes in the middle. Not one of our best shows ever, I would say, both in terms of content and in the technology execution. But you know what? We got something out there, Patrick. I thank you, Patrick, for dealing with this and finding the time to record. And I thank you, the listener, for bearing with us here. We do have some big things planned. We can't reveal anything, but there are going to be some changes coming, and we're excited for that as we inch in here on the big episode 52, which will mark a complete year of podcasting. But that is it for this episode. Any last words for the listeners, Patrick?
Well, I don't want to be made look bad for having McDonald's. It was my first thing I ate. I go waffles for breakfast this morning at 7:30, and I haven't had anything since. So.
Oh my gosh. You know.
I did what had to be done.
That's been on your mind for 15 minutes, huh?
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, gotta do what you gotta do. I had Mickey D's yesterday. Okay.
Huh?
I had Mickey D's yesterday. 10-piece nugs, honey mustard. What do you do?
Nugs train. Well, today I did 2 McDoubles, only cheese.
God.
Plain Jane. 4-piece nug, a small fry.
What's on the nugs?
Nothing. Plain Jane.
Plain.
Yeah.
You're gross.
You're gross.
That's terrible. Their honey mustard is amazing. Anyway, wow, McDonald's minute there. That's something. No free advertisements though. McDonald's, if you'd like to pay us, please let us know. We're open for presenting sponsors.
Eggos, we love presenting sponsor too.
Oh, can you imagine? The podcast presented by Eggos?
That'd be hilarious.
That'd be legendary. Anyway, everybody loves Eggos. That is it for this podcast. We gotta get moving, but we thank you guys so much for listening here, and we look forward to having you join us again next week. So we will see you again. See you then. Thank you very much.